Now, dear students, I welcome you again to a short video, and we'll be continuing that PI, that is job interviews related. This video will be again, right? Now, the specific title is stress interview, right? Now, as you know, recruiters use different types of questions just to have a comprehensive assessment of a candidate. Now, what they do is they have a right mix of questions now, which gives them a chance to have a 360-degree view of the applicant. I think you get to it. What is 360-degree, right? A comprehensive, assessment of a candidate. Now, but the recruiters decide beforehand a list of structured interview questions depending on the job role, right, task, organization, requirements, right, and everything. So they consider actually which type of question will be more relevant for which job roles, right? Now, depending on the job description, job position, industry specific, and also the company or firm specific, right, they decide about the job interview questions, right? Now, as I said, there are different types of questions, right, and we have discussed a few of those type of questions earlier also, right? But these, questions we can broadly categorize before we go into the stress interview in particular, which is actually the topic of today, right? But we'll just list out what are different types of interviews, and categorize them. So some interview questions are, specifically designed to elicit background information of the candidate, right? These questions, may be like this, right? How and where did you start your career in this particular industry? Or they can ask you, why do you want to leave your current organization or position? So this is basically to ask about the background information. Then there are technical questions also. What experience do you have, particularly let's say in Excel, advanced Excel, right? Now that it's there, it's a very hotly, sought after, competencies. Behavioral event interview. The last video which we were discussing, was about BEI, that is behavioral event interview. So they can put some questions about specific behavior. For instance, they can ask you, tell me about a time when you made a significant mistake and how did you handle it? Now, there can also be situational questions, right? So, the questions could be like this. Imagine that a co-worker gives inaccurate information or data to a very important client. So, what did you do? Or what would you do rather? This is a situational controls, hypothetical, right? Then there are certain competency based questions. What are that? What do you do to ensure clear communication down below or in your team or with your client? This is a competency based question, mind you. Next comes motivation questions, right? To assess your level of motivation. So they may straightaway ask you what motivates you to perform well in your job or how motivated you are internally, because there are two types of motivation. One is internal, self-motivation, and also external motivation, right? So they may ask you what motivates you to perform well. Is it internal motivation? Are you self-motivated? Or you always want, the rewards or recognition from your organization or your boss? Then there are also some culture and value specific questions, like describe your ideal manager or your ideal supervisor. What type of person you want it, right? Then as you know, there are also another broad classification, open-ended question and closed-ended questions, right? Open-ended questions, let us tell us something about your past, your educational background, your academic career, your likes and dislikes. These are all open-ended questions, means they will ask you to go into details of, right? There are also brain teaser questions. For instance, how many times do a clock hand overlap in a day? Or what is the weight of a cigarette? These are all brain teaser questions, right? And then, as I said, There are also closed-ended questions where they want you to respond in yes or no or a very short answers. Have you ever worked remotely? The answer could be only yes or no, right? Then there could be also stress interview, which we are going to discuss in detail today. The question could be like this: what would you do if you are rejected by us? Or to take it in the extreme, they make it very very much what do you say that very much strenuous questions, very aggressive type of questions they put at times. I don't understand why I am interviewing you, right? Looking at your resume this way, what they will do? I am wasting my time, perhaps. So, the intention is not to reject you. They want always to assess how you react to this type of stressful questions, because ultimately you are going to, land up somewhere or do a job which may require, handling stress. So, we will go into details of henceforth with stress interview, what it is, why it is asked, some sample questions we are going to take, and how should you prepare yourself to such type of stress interviews. So, first of all, what a stress interview is? Now, it is a specialized recruitment method or a tool, or interview tool rather. Intentionally they create some stress or a stressful situation or a high pressure environment to assess you as a candidate, your ability to handle pressure, uncertain situation that you are likely to face in the organization, and also very tough, difficult situations, right? Now, depending on the type of job you are handling, we can list out a few very high pressure roles for which they might be also conducting the interview, right? Take for instance a leadership position. What you have to do? You have to take some decisions in emergency situation, crisis manager at times, right? Some disasters have happened, you have to take a decision. Likewise, sales and marketing people, those people who are sales professionals, their role requires negotiation, meeting demanding deadlines, targets, and also handling rejections from the prospective clients. At the 11th hour, your client refused to be a client of yours, to purchase your service or goods. This could also be a source of stress. Then there are law enforcement or military officers, those who are in defense services. They require to focus, quick thinking, and also they should have the ability to respond to a dangerous situation, right? Then there are people who are in aviation industry, for instance a pilot or a flight attendant. They have to manage challenges in flight situations. For instance, there is a high turbulence while the flight is on the move. So these are the situations or these are the job roles for which actually sometimes these interviewers or recruiters, they go in for this what is called a stress interview. Now, why at all they conduct, or why the employers use this particular tool, that is stress interviews? Let us list out very quickly. First of all, assessing the stress management skill of the candidate, how he or she is able to manage the stress, right? Because many jobs, as I said earlier, professionals who can stay composed under pressure, who are required to stay composed under pressure. For instance, as I said, facing a very irritant or a very difficult client, leadership, crisis handling situations. Then other reasons is identifying resilient candidate. A candidate should be resilient. Who is a resilient candidate? The one who is able to bounce back from all adversity, right? Testing problem solving and decision making under pressure. To test ability to remain logical and solution focused or oriented. That's the reason. They want to assess your capability. Evaluating your emotional intelligence, right? Most of the job requires a high degree of EI, emotional intelligence, right? Nowadays, recruiters are very particular about what is the level of EI you have, right? How much you are able to control your own emotions, right? There are other elements also EI. Then Another reason could be filtering out unfit candidates very early. See, when they are going for interview, there will be so many candidates and they have limited time, resources. So obviously they want to eliminate those who are just not eligible, don't have the minimum skill or competencies. So there what they do, they employ this stress interview, right? And then try to eliminate them so that they can focus in greater detail with those candidates who are left out. So these are some of the possible reasons why the recruiters are nowadays relying more and more on this stress interview tools. Next, let us see types of stress interviews used in the hiring process, right? Mind you, I am not giving you the exhaustive list, right? With the limited time, I am going to just highlight some of the most important types of stress interview, right? That could be aggressive questions, right? Now, these questions, aggressive questions, what does it, right? They want to test the candidate's self-confidence. So, obviously, the way they put the question is little bit different. The tone of the interviewer or the recruiter may, it may appear very harsh, skeptical, right? Let's take one example here. Why should we believe things you say, right? They have put the ball into your court, right? What makes you think you are the best fit for this role? Again, the ball is in your court, right? Now, the purpose is not to reject you, mind you. The purpose is again to test your, how much you have self-confidence, how much you are able to maintain your cool, right? How much you are able to come out of this stressful situation. That is their purpose. So, mental resilience they are testing here basically. Now, after aggressive questions, what the next thing they can do is, they can be little bit hostile. That means they will be asking intimidating questions, right? They will be creating an uncomfortable situation for you, or atmosphere for you, or ambience for you, right? For instance, what they do, they will be frequently cutting in or cutting off the candidate's answer. You are answering half the way and they will just cut it off. Then put another questions. Panelists at times remain silent after you have responded. This is also deliberately done, mind you, right? Now, instead of focusing on the candidate, they will be remaining silent, right? Maybe take a pause after you finished, right? And this silence actually creates a stressful situation for you. They display negative body language. Well, there are various negative body language. For instance, what they do, they roll their eyes this way, eye rolling we call it, right? This creates some message it sends to you and you get nervous, right? Or instantly, checking their watch for the time now, right? This may create some stress in you and they are doing it all deliberately, mind you. Third is uncomfortable situation. They make some uncomfortable situation for you as a candidate. Common scenario, let's see what they do. They will be deliberately making you wait. You have entered the room, they are just, you knock the door, enter the room, you wish them, okay, they wished you back, but then after that they are silent. They don't just interact with you. Neither they are asking you to sit down. So this time, let it be 1 second or 1 minute or so, that creates a very stress and uncomfortable situation for you, right? Then there could be also overlapping interviews. What is this overlapping interviews? Two interviewers asking you questions simultaneously. Then you get confused whom to respond, which one to take first. Now here also the purpose is to observe your reaction. Are you frustrated? Are you becoming nervous? Whether your voice is shivering? They also try to assess your adaptability to these unexpected work situations that you are likely to face in the job role for which you are appearing in the interview. So they test your patience in this way. Now, other common stress interview tactics which these recruiters or the interviewers adopt, that could be repeating the question itself. So repetitive question itself is another way to create stress. Asking the very same question by different interviewers. There could be a panel of interviewers. So each one is asking the very same questions in a different wordings maybe, right? This will create some doubt in your mind. Did I respond correctly last time, right? So you have to be here a little bit more, tactful. What you should do is you must remain assertive, right? Then asking highly personal questions. Sometimes they ask you highly personal questions. For instance, why were you fired in your first job role? So here you should not at any cost badmouth your previous employer. That you should not do, right? Now, another thing they can do, to create a stress is like role playing in different scenario. They'll put you in a different scenario and you have to play a different role, right? It will be a simulated workplace situation where they will ask you to, navigate a high stake challenging situation. These are also commonly used for sales and customer service people, right? For instance, the interview may ask, you have to demonstrate, mind you, what they ask you: I am a dissatisfied client demanding refund of my money. Convince me to stay with your company or continue to buy your product or services. That you have to do again, right? And the very fact of that you have to enact or play the role, right? Also creates sometimes a nervous or stress in you. Now then, what should you do? How should you respond to this stress interview, right? Now, first thing you have to do is maintain emotional composure, right? What do you mean by maintaining emotional composure? That means stay calm. Take deliberate breath before answering to lower your heart rate, and also simultaneously you are buying some time, right? You can also, not get defensive. So do not get defensive. Suppose they criticize your resume and background, right? What you have to do is you have to respond with your facts, right? Rather than becoming emotionally unstable, right? Don't become emotional, right? At any cost, you should not lose your calm. Maintain eye contact always. Now, this solid eye contact and a steady voice signals confidence under fire, right? Now, even if you are scared, maintain the eye contact. Your voice should not shiver. This gives you a signal. Maybe they will give up and go to the traditional question without further probing your stress handling competency, right? Now, you can ask calmly for clarification also when they are putting any stress related questions, right? And always keep smiling even if you are stressed inside, mind you. Remember the old, dictum, felt emotions did not be always displayed. So even if you are stressed inside, your smile and your voice should never reflect that. Second thing, prepare for stress questions beforehand. Preparation and preparation. That will help you a great deal in handling stress interviews, right? So what should you do? How do you prepare? Look up common stress questions and prepare answers that will highlight your adaptability. Beforehand, you have already listed out some stress questions, right? And also try to rehearse that. We call it as mock interview. So do some mock interview with friends or a career coach. Practice answering questions before a mirror even, right? So rehearse answer using STAR methods. I think I told you about, I have discussed about STAR method in my previous video about BEI, that is Behavioral Event Interview, right? It stands for, it's an acronym, right? It stands for situation, S, task, T, action, A, results, R. So you can, phrase your answer in this way: what was the situation, what was the task, what action you took, and then what was the outcome or result, right? So this way also you are better prepared to withstand any stress related, questions or situations they create. Receiving feedbacks. See, if you are practicing beforehand, right, what are you doing is, you can do rather, right? You can take the help and improve your response to a certain extent by receiving feedbacks right, from your maybe friends or maybe somebody who is a career coach, if you can get one. Third thing is to conduct company research, right? Sometimes, the question itself is regarding the company, where you are applying or where the role is you are applying for the interview, right? If you have not researched well about the company, then at times you get a stress, and then the question itself will be created such a way that you will not be able to answer. So research the company well, find out its culture, also try to find out who is the hiring manager, right, and the role you are being interviewed for. That role itself may demand or may require for you to handle some stressful situations. So accordingly, you can get ready with some questions beforehand. Now, you can also connect with the previous candidates who have already applied and maybe they have been interviewed, if at all possible, mind you. Obtain some information about the questions that the hiring manager had asked them, right? Next is practice stress management techniques. You see, in general, there are enough methods and tools have been, designed and suggested by experts, psychiatrists, psychologists, experts in this behavioral science. They have, suggested some of the practices to manage stress. What are they? Some of them are, they help you remain calm and collected. Here is a quote that I would like to share with you. There was a person called Bryant McGill who once said, "Your calm mind is the ultimate weapon against your all challenges. So therefore, relax." So you have to maintain your calmness in your mind. That is the best weapon, right? So some stress management techniques that are well known suggested are deep breathing, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation. What this progressive muscle relaxation is? Systematically, tensing and then relaxing or releasing rather different muscles groups. That will have a, great deal of, effect on how to check your stress. Now, before I conclude, or rather to conclude, dear students, and those of you who are seeking jobs or attending interviews, remember Hans Salle. His name is Hans Salle. He had given a theory called General Adaptation Syndrome. What is this GAS? General Adaptation Syndrome. He says that when a message is passed on to you, particularly those which are stressful questions or stressed connected, communication, three things happen, 3 stages it goes through. First is alarm reaction, the initial shock phase. Then there is a stage of resistance, that is the adaptation stage, where the body and mind tries to cope with the stress. Third is the exhaustion stage. Now, if the stress continues too long, then the body or your mind gets, depleted, and ability to cope ultimately is ended. So what you should do is, whenever there is stress related questions, focus on the first two, that is alarm reaction stage and the stage of resistance. There you can do something which we have already discussed about stress management techniques. Now, so to quote again the same person, Hans Salle, what he says, it is not the stress that kills you, it's our reaction to the stress that kills us. Which means changing the perspective and managing the reactions to stress is the key to success. That's all for the day. Now, before I wind up, again an appeal to you all students, if at all it makes sense, if it adds values, if you feel this is, making a difference to your, preparation for job interviews, do please like, share and put forth your views, right? Comments. If you have not already subscribed, do please subscribe. Thank you. Next.